Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Every Damn Week podcast. My name is John Kirby, and this week we're going to be talking about the importance about dads needing to take breaks. And I want to start with a discussion about a story for me, just kind of share a little bit of how I learned how important this was for myself. Let's go back a little bit to COVID. Remember when we were going through all those COVID lockdowns and everybody had to stay home for a while? Well, one of the things that happened is I had been at my job for just a little under a year when we all got sent home. And that meant a big shift for me coming back home and being home all the time. And for a while, for a few months, I didn't venture out of the house very much. So, but as a result, what I didn't really start seeing until it really blew up in my face was I was getting frustrated. I wasn't taking time off for myself. I was working all the time and I was spending a lot of time around the family and I wasn't taking any time for myself. And as a result, at one point, I ended up blowing up at my children really bad to the point where one of them was in tears. I hate when I do that. When that happens, it's just heartbreaking, and I know that I'm to blame, and I realized I needed to take a break. I needed to go and step out of the house, go someplace else, and just be somewhere and calm down and have some me time. And I did that. I don't even remember what I did, but I remember leaving the house for about half an hour, 40 minutes, and I came back and I started apologizing to everybody and started making amends. And thankfully, it was one of my younger sons that I had blown up at, and they're fairly resilient, which is awesome. And he was pretty forgiving. But the one thing I realized at that point was I had to get out. I wasn't afraid of getting out. I just got into the habit of not leaving. And COVID kind of reset my brain where I was stuck at home all the time and I had become okay with it. It's not okay. And one of the things I've realized is if I don't carve out a little bit of time for myself every week, sometimes every day, I am not capable of being the best for my family. I'm not capable of being there for my children when they need me. I'm not emotionally available for my wife because I'm so stressed. I'm out of whack, and I'm not able to provide the support that they need as a dad. But at the same time, I'm not there for myself either. I need to be able to take care of me for me so I can take care of them. Now, one of the things that I've learned is I got to carve out me time. And that's the first thing I want to talk about is why me time is so crucial for dads. And one of the things that you hear a lot is mom needs a break, or the wives need to take a break for themselves, but nobody talks about how dad needs a break. And dads go through a lot of stress. We're usually the provider. Sometimes we're the sole provider. The wives are sometimes the provider as well. And I know the wives need time, so don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that wives don't need time. What I am saying is dad needs time too. And dad needs to be able to take breaks when he needs it to lower his stress levels, avoid burnout, as well as reduce the irritability. Remember the story I just told you where I was just very irritable? I wasn't taking time out of my day for myself to do something, whether it's get out of the house or just change up the routine, take a break from work or whatever. 10 or 15 minutes a day, sometimes that may be all you need sometimes. But I like to think you need more than that. And I'll dive into that a little more. I do want to read a quote for you here. You will never find time for anything. If you want time, you must make it. And that's something I realized too, that I was not making the time for myself. I get into a really bad habit of I'll get into my chair here and I'll get sucked into something. And I could be sitting here for 2-3 hours straight. That's not a good thing. It's not good for my health because I need to move. I need to walk around and get up and be active. So that's an issue. But at the same time, you got to take a mind break too and do something else, and changing things up. It's important to do that. So I try to carve out time during my day, or at least remind myself, get up and go do something. I try to make a point now about every 20 to 30 minutes, if I can. I get up, walk out, go talk to somebody else in the house, or or if there's nobody in the house, just get up and go take a break and go find something. Sometimes for me, what's funny is doing laundry is a break. It's a change in the routine. I don't mind doing laundry. I do my own laundry. I don't mind it. It's a change of pace, and that can be good. Me time's crucial because as a dad, one of the things that you need to be able to do is be an example for your kids. You got to show them that you can manage your stress, and making that time for yourself by showing them you're doing this. And I do this by talking to my kids and letting them know this is my time. I'm going to take a break. I'm watching this program, or I'm stepping out to go for a walk, whatever that may be. That's my time. I'll let them know I will catch up with you and answer your questions or take care of this for you after I have taken care of me. So I always explain that to them, that I'll be ready for them when I'm done. That my priority is me at the moment, and they're okay with that. I mean, if it's an urgent and something's happening, that's somebody's bleeding or whatever, a little different story. You got to change things up. But um, sometimes I'll even involve my kids in my break. If I'm going to go watch a program, I'll ask my kids to join me. Say, hey, I'm going to watch this. You want to come join me? And I let them do that with me. Or find an activity that we'll go do together. Sometimes if I'm going to the park, I want to go for a walk, I'll have my boys come with me. So I try to include them a little bit when I can, but for the most part, I'm trying to make it for me. Here's another quote for you. The most important work you will ever do will be within the walls of your own home. This is by Harold B. Lee. Another why, part of the why for dads having me time is you build emotional resilience. If you're not taking breaks, like I was not doing there at COVID, the tension builds and the frustration gets larger and larger, and you get angrier and angrier. And eventually you got to blow off steam. Who's going to get that? Well, in my case, it was my younger boy. He got it. He didn't deserve it. He did nothing to deserve it. And unfortunately, the damage was done, and I had to fix that. When you have emotional resilience and you've taken time for yourself, your family dynamics run better. Things are smoother. I'll give you an example. So this past weekend, we took the family, the younger three, we went to an arcade. This was my 6-year-old's reward for going to school every single day. I'm not going to get into that. That's a challenge in itself. Something, you figure a first grader would love school, right? Not this one. Anyway, that was the reward. Well, unfortunately, it didn't go as well as I had hoped, because towards the end, he got really, really upset. And he didn't want to leave when it was time to go. We were like, hey, we're all hungry. We want to go home. We want to eat. And he just stood there, and he didn't want to go. And I started to get more and more upset. I was getting more frustrated with him, and I kept telling him, look, we have to go. And if you're not going to go, we're never coming back. Or, giving him other consequences and such. And we got outside. He finally kind of dragged him outside, and he was still dragging and not cooperating and such. And I realized that I was not helping the situation, and that I was not in my best frame of mind. I was hangry. I was looking forward to having a slice of pizza, and that was on my mind, and it was not arguing with a 6-year-old. And so I, at that moment, left the 6-year-old to my youngest daughter, who was trying to get him moving. It wasn't that I just threw him on him. She was actively trying to convince him to follow along and come with us. And I just suddenly just reached a point in my mind. I realized I'm done. I have nothing else positive to contribute to this situation. I'm going to go back to the truck and I'm going to sit and wait. And that's what I did. I just went back to the truck, and my 8-year-old son came along with. He decided to chime in. He was like, Zach's being a pain. I was like, well, yeah, he is. Don't worry about it. He'll be along shortly. And we just sat there and we waited not more than 5 minutes. And eventually we got him into the truck and we went home. And I was quiet all the way home. I think people thought I was really mad. Turns out I was really hangry and I was really low blood sugar and I was really done. That was why I was not talking to people. But I recognized that that was happening. And instead of blowing my top completely in public and embarrassing the entire family, I realized I was not contributing to the solution. And therefore, I removed myself. And that was emotional resilience. I understood what was happening within myself, and I made the appropriate changes in order to allow things to work better for the family. And it did work out better. Everybody got in the truck. Later on, they were joking, they were laughing a little bit, and people were in a pretty good mood. And when we got home, things were fine. And we just moved on as a family instead of creating an entire disaster that I would have felt bad about and everybody else would have been in tears and upset about. That's emotional resilience. And that's part of because I take time for myself so that I'm able to recognize these moments and prepare myself for them. Not to mention, just I'm a little more Teflon than I used to be. So that helps a ton. I want to get into some misconceptions that are out there and just address a few of these here. So first, these are misconceptions about dads taking breaks for themselves. The first one, dads should always be available. Um, this is a hard one because dad has a lot on his plate. Dad could be like, in my case, I'm the sole provider in my family. So there's a lot of pressure on me to work and to get the job done during the day and bring home the money to pay for the bills and all the food that we need and everything. So there's a lot of pressure there. I also need to be available to fix things in the house. I need to be available to do the yard work that we need to do around the house. I need to be available to take my boys to football practice and things of that nature. There's a lot of things that I need to be available for. And dads could come across and say, there's no time for breaks. You can't take a time for break. I have to do all these things. And that's coming from guilt. That's coming from guilt where where dad may feel like if they take a break, they've let somebody down. Well, the reality is it means you're going to take a break and you're going to come back from that and be more fully present. You're going to be more with it. You're going to be more together. Again, that emotional resilience, kind of like what I did this past weekend where I took a break. I walked away. And while I came home and I had to take an even longer break, I just sat in front of the TV, watched some football for a little bit, passed out, took a nap. After I took that time for myself, I was more available for my family and able to do more. That helped. Think of yourself as a phone, as one of these things. Your battery needs a recharge. You have to recharge yourself to keep going. And if you're not recognizing when you need to do it, or even just scheduling it, because it could happen unscheduled or scheduled, take your pick. If you're not doing it, you're going to shut down and it's going to be ugly. Misconception number 2, me time is selfish and it's only for moms. And this goes into what I was talking about before. Society focuses on how moms need a break, and they do. I do not dispute that at all. But dads experience a lot of things too where they need to take time. Self-care is not selfish. It benefits everyone because you'll show up better for your family, as I've been saying. One of the things that this misconception could feed into is how, because moms need a break, well, when is mom going to get a break if dad is not available? Well, mom and dad can trade off and make that a point to work together to make that happen. I always try to make sure my wife gets time for herself. And we schedule that as much as we can so that I give her a chance to go and do her own little getaways for herself. She may take a kid with her from time to time. But for the most part, I understand she needs a break from the kids. Sometimes I just take the kids and I leave. But at the same time, one of the things I wasn't doing for many years was I wasn't taking time for myself. So I wouldn't go away on a trip. I felt it was necessary to stick around because it was my job as dad to stick around and be here and present. I can't leave the area. I need to be here for everything. And that doesn't do any good for everybody because my stress just built and I just got frustrated and I was no fun. I now take a few trips a year. I in the past I've gone on solo camping trips. I've gone by myself where I just needed a chance to be amongst nature and refill my spirit by doing that. Um, Trade that time off with your spouse. Make sure to both of you are taking the time you need. A quote for you here: to love others, we must first love ourselves. And this quote perfectly captures the need for a dad to care for himself, because when you're taking care of yourself and you're showing love to yourself, you're showing love to your family. Because and you're setting an example for your kids to see how important it is to take care of yourself. It's that old adage: if you're on a plane and the oxygen mask comes on, who's the first person you put the mask on? Yourself. Then you put it on others. The whole reason for that is because if you're not in a position to breathe oxygen and you're trying to put a mask on someone else, you may pass out before you get the oxygen mask on the other person. And guess what? Both of you are now out. So you have to put your oxygen mask on first so that you can help and take care of others. Here's a third misconception, and this one's a little more specific towards large families. And I'm sharing this because I have a large family. Large families make it impossible for dads to take breaks. Yeah, I used to think that. When all 5 of my kids were at home, it was a challenge because there was a lot of things going on. And I always felt there was something that needed to get done. And I'll be honest, I didn't fully understand the importance of taking breaks. And so it did contribute to some of my emotional and mental breakdowns that I went through. Having a larger family requires more time management. It really does spread a parent thin. So I've got 5 kids. Here, you see if I see it better here. 5 kids. It's important to be able to manage your time better and prioritize things so that that personal care you give yourself will help you avoid the burnout that you're going to feel. And I burned myself out numerous times. And so it's important to add in my opinion, regular routines, regular habits that you can count on that are going to be there so that you will be able to handle the chaos in a larger family and juggle it as best as you can. Thankfully for myself, I had 3 older kids and then 2 younger kids. There was a space of about 8 years between the third and the fourth kid. That helped a lot. And it still helps to this day because my oldest, my 21-year-old is here at home, and she'll help with the younger kids from time to time when she's here. And that's a great help. Not every large family has that. Some large families have everybody condensed in a smaller generational packet. So you've got 5, 6 kids within a 10-year span, which is tough. It's hard to manage that when they're all in the same age level. That's difficult. So how do you do this? And it took me a while to understand for myself what I needed to do. Well, part of it for me was every damn day going to the gym every morning. That was part of my break. And that's part of what I want to suggest here as well as a practical method for carving that meantime. Develop a morning or evening ritual. And by doing this, you can count on the time for yourself. So I'll give you the example. I am up at 4:55 a.m. and I'm at the gym usually 5:30ish. Sometimes a little later. Lately, it's been a little later. I've been not doing as well because of allergies and things of that nature. So I've been dragging my feet, getting my day started. But I know that my workout's going to happen in the morning. I can count on that workout. If I'm not doing a workout, I'm doing a walk. I can count on that. That's my time. I have an agreement with my family that they know that that is my time. And I do that and take care of myself. Um, it's my routine. At first, I had to develop the habits, and that was something that every damn day helped me do. And then it developed into a routine. And with that routine now, it's a part of me. It's part of my identity, and I do that. I have a morning routine that where I'm taking care of myself physically every single morning. Now, here's a quote from Stephen Covey. The key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. So you may not want to do a 60 or 90-minute workout like I usually do. That's okay. Some of the things you can do are, you could just do some stretching. You could do a 10-minute meditation or journaling. I haven't been journaling as much in the morning lately because of a lot of the things I have going on, but I tend to try to journal in the morning when I can. If you're religious, add some scripture reading in there. Reading or listening to a podcast. I combine podcast and working out together. So I'm learning and I'm working out. So I'm taking care of the mental and the physical at the same time. Or just have a quiet moment where you're having breakfast for yourself. Take breaks during the day. This is something that I try to do as often as I can. When lunch, for example, is a good opportunity for me. Sometimes what I will do for lunch, I'll go take a nap in the recliner. Just take a 20, 30-minute nap, just a quick. It's usually the boys are at school and my wife is doing her thing and it's quiet. So I take advantage of the quiet and then I'll just take a nap. Now I work from home. Now I'll admit that when I was going to an office, sometimes I just go to my car and I'd take a nap in the car, or I would go for a walk. Sometimes I would actually go for a walk. I got away from work and I took the time and made a break regardless, because I've got to check out for a little bit, at least in the middle of the day, so I can reset. One of the things I also like to do is I like to schedule a lunch. I like to go to lunch with a friend, and that actually will give me a recharge. I count that as a break because I'm going to go see some friends, and I enjoy lunches with my friends to connect and to joke and have fun, or just vent about whatever's going on in the world. It's really helpful for me. And then another thing to do, set boundaries. This is what I've done with my family. They understand that I work out in the morning. That is not to be messed with. That is religiously my routine, and that is a time that we don't interfere with. And there may be something going on where I may have to make adjustments, and I will adjust those times to another time in the day if I need to. But the reality is I've set those boundaries that I say this is my time. One of the other things that will happen too from time to time is my kids will come to me and they will say, hey, I need this. And sometimes I get all 4 or 5 at the same time. Say, hey, I need this, I need that. And I'm like, hold on, this is my time. I need you to give me space to complete what I'm working on so that I can then come back and take care of what you need. And so I will make sure to set boundaries and do it in a loving way. And don't just say, go away, I need time. I'll admit I've done that once or twice, not recently. I've gotten better at it because I understand the importance of that time for myself, and everybody else understands that time for me. I've gotten better at it, and everybody understands. Let dad have a chance to do what he needs to do to relax, to clear his head, and to be able to focus. And once you've established this and you do this from time to time, it works out well. And some of the things you can do, again, gym time, go run. I like to go running. I will make sure to let everybody know I'm going for my run. I will come back. I'm going to recover after my run, and then I will be available for you at X time. And I'll let them know that. Go for a bike ride. Do some hobbies like paint, draw, play an instrument, or just go on a solo trip. Sometimes what I will do is I will go to the library and go work in the library and do something in the library. Or I will go, one of my things that I like to do, strangely enough, is I like to go to Costco once a week. I I try to do it on a day where there's not a lot of people, because when it's really crowded, that's not relaxing. So I try to go when it's quieter and there's less people, and I can just kind of go around. I pick up the things that we need, look around at a few things. It gives me a chance to walk around, gives me a chance to go get out of the house. And it was part of the whole, because I work from home. I need a reason to get out of the house from time to time. It gave me a reason to leave. So it was a break for me, and my wife didn't understand it for a while. And lately we've shifted it because I'm now doing football practice for the boys, and so that's where a lot of my get out of the house comes from. And she's taken over those Costco runs. But every now once in a while, I'll say, "Hey, can I come with you?" Because I kind of like going and doing that. It's something that I enjoy because it's part of my, as part of a routine I created starting with COVID, where I was doing that. Another thing to do, getaways, either a weekend getaway or a staycation. Now, it's important, obviously, that you make sure you're making time to spend with your spouse. You want to go and do these weekend getaways and staycations with them. But you may not have thought of this, Dad, but it's okay for you to go and have a little trip for yourself. I have actually done this where I have gone locally here. I got a hotel. I just went there for a night or two, and I did it to clear my head. I would go there to do some planning and to work on my journal, to work on some business strategies, or just to relax and just watch movies or go out to dinner and treat myself and do something. I've actually done this. And I sometimes like to do this at the beginning or end of the year because I like to go and reflect on my journal and come up with a plan for the next year and create some goals. I like doing that. Um, Solo camping, I mentioned earlier. I have done this a number of times. I actually enjoy camping by myself. I enjoy camping with my friends even more, but I enjoy camping by myself because it's a complete change of pace. I'm out in the woods. There's less technology, less, just a totally different place to be. And it feels good when I come back. And I appreciate my technology and my comfortable bed even more. Um, or something else that, in fact, I'm doing this in a few weeks. Go attend a workshop. I'm going to Bo Eason in a few weeks, his personal story power event that he does in La Jolla. I love going to this event. I love everything that Bo Eason puts together. It's just so incredible, and it's an amazing event. And I'm doing this again, and this is going to be one of my getaways for this year. And it's a self-improvement for myself, but at the same time, a little bit of a staycation. And I'm doing it with some friends as well. So I'm actually going with my business partner too. And that it'll be a working slash staycation for me, or not staycation, a vacation for me, a chance to get away. Um, so last thing I want to share is the impacts of me time on our relationships with our family. So one of the things I've learned is, with wives and kids, dads are more patient. When you've taken the time for yourself, one of the most important things is going to the gym for myself. I've gone and I've taken my frustrations out at the gym every single morning. I come back and I'm not as angry. I'm not as bitter. I actually will be more calm and responsive to my family. And it's worked out very well with having those routines in the morning. That helps me tremendously. It leads to healthier relationships where you are able to connect better. People will trust you more when they know you're not going to blow up, when they know you're going to be in control of your emotions and you're able to be more resilient to the rough challenges that they may come and present to you. Like, Dad, I broke this, or Dad, this broke. You're going to have to fix it. It's never fun to hear that as a dad, but if you have taken care of yourself, you're a little less frustrated when that happens. Another quote for you here from Eleanor Brown. Self-care is not selfish. You cannot serve from an empty vessel. One of the things I like to think about is your emotional gas tank and your spiritual gas tank, your mental gas tank. You've got various tanks that you've got fuel in. If you're not putting fuel back in, eventually the tank is going to be empty and eventually may rust and burst a hole where it'll take you a while to fix that hole and then start refueling again. You don't want to wait that long. Your fuel tanks for every part of your existence must be taken care of. So you need to have energy for, especially for the emotional capacity you need to give your family. They need you emotionally. They need you to be present. They need you to be able to give back. And if you're not putting things back in your fuel tanks, then you've got nothing to give, then that's going to affect the relationship with your wife and with your kids. And they're going to wonder why. And that's just going to create strife and problems. Feed yourself, fuel yourself up. Another impact, of course, is your marriage gets strengthened. So with both partners needing a downtime, um, this gives mutual respect. Like I've said with my wife, I want her to take time for herself because she does a lot with a family. She takes care of the kids. She takes care of the house. She does a lot of things. She doesn't have a job, and so that's her thing. That's what she does. And so I want her to be able to take time for herself and get away. Like I said, sometimes I take the kids and she gets the house to herself. Sometimes, not completely. But what I also encourage her to do is go visit her family or visit someone else and spend time there. Get a break. Dad, you have to do the same thing. You have to go do the same thing by yourself. So plan it, schedule it. Schedule something where you're getting out weekly by yourself if you're not doing it. If not weekly, daily would be nice. If you just need to go for an evening and go do something for 30 minutes, go for a walk for 30 minutes, take a break. This will have a benefit with your spouse where you'll want to spend time with your spouse even more, believe it or not. You actually will. This helps that because you understand the importance of that time away from the kids. As a dad, you start to see it, you understand it better. And as a result, then mom will understand that you see it. And as you both take breaks, you understand that you both have to take breaks together to work on your marriage. When dads take me time, you get better mental health, you get emotional resilience, and you're going to have a stronger family relationship. It allows you to be the best for your family. You just have to be able to be there. And if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not there. You're not going to be able to be there, not fully, not 100%. So carve out some time for yourself today if you're not doing that. Or maybe you're not carving out enough time for yourself. Make sure you're doing that. If you're not going to the gym regularly, find a way to do that. Go to the gym more regularly. Make that happen. But also maybe track your mood. This is where a good journal on that. You can track how you're feeling, what's going on, why maybe this happened. Maybe you didn't eat enough that day. Maybe you didn't have enough of a workout that day, or you didn't sleep well. Make sure you're tracking all of these things. It's important to understand how you tick, how you operate. As you learn more about that, then you're going to be more present and available for your family. Everyone, thank you so much for watching and listening this week. We'll talk to you again next week.